to Finding NBA Value with DFC. I'm Jason, and joining me today and our DFC team is Matt. You can find him on Twitter at MVCB4. And welcome to the team, man.
Hey, thanks, man. How you doing?
Doing good. And you're joining us. You're doing some NBA writing for us, and obviously going to be doing pods with me on Mondays. And we're stoked to have you on board.
Thank you, man. I'm really excited to be on board.
Sweet. So we'll jump into here. We're taking a look at a 7-game slate, DraftKings and FanDuel. And our first words were kind of, tonight's going to be interesting. Could be potential for a lot of value.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of guys I like tonight. I'm ready to get this going, so let's go.
Yeah, definitely. We'll jump into point guards here. The only real injury news for point guards tonight is the possibility of Jeremy Lin being back. He's probable. The one thing is I can't see his minutes really taking a huge jump given the fact that he had the hamstring injury.
Yeah, even if I know he's upgraded to Pro Bowl, but even if he plays, what could you really expect? Maybe 20 minutes,
Yeah, I think that's going to be the thing. It's going to be a work in progress getting him back. And obviously not the best one-on-one matchup with, Patrick Beverley being back there. So, but outside of him, it looks like everyone's ready to go. Kemba Walker's probable. I know he, banged knees last time out, but, we're starting to get fully healthy.
Yeah, I see Kemba's going to play. There shouldn't be anything wrong with Kemba. And, now you have D'Angelo back now, so there's no, cheap taking Clarkson or any of that. So, there's some other things I'm looking at. Possibly, maybe D. Will.
Yeah, I like him quite a bit. Really cheap on both sides. And obviously a great matchup against Denver. They've been horrific against guards this season. Kind of still with a lot of lingering injuries. Seth Curry hasn't been back to 100%. Harris still out. He's been opening up and getting 30 minutes a game.
He's a very interesting player most of the time. His price at 6,200. He's very stutter dud. You know what I mean? Like he can get you 40, but he can get you 10.
Yeah, that's the thing with him. It's very it's all over the place in terms of his game logs. I think in this one, there's a reasonable floor though. Denver just really hasn't been that great against guards this season. And as you kind of point out, Kemba Walker's only 7,500 on DK, a pretty good significant difference from, guys like John Wall, Chris Paul, Lillard tonight.
If Kemba Walker is a go, I will be having him on multiple sets. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. This guy's in a good spot. Indy's defense has really fallen off the map this year. They've been pushing the pace. And obviously this one's expected to stay close. Which usually
What is wrong with Indy, man? When they signed Thad and all those guys, I thought they were going to be a contender in the East, and they've just been horrible.
It's been bad. I pegged them as basically a top 3 team, putting them with Cleveland and Toronto there, and that really hasn't been the case.
So did I. Yeah, I thought, coming, getting Teague and everything. They have a solid starting 5, and Miles Turner's underrated. They just can't put it together right now.
Yeah, and Thaddeus Young obviously not known for his defensive abilities outside of maybe grabbing a couple steals per game, but that's been an area to attack this season.
Yeah, but I don't really know if we can attack it on this slate. I'm not really fond of this Charlotte point power forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah, we're not really looking at guys like Marvin Williams or anything tonight, even though they're fairly cheap. But any other point guards you like kind of in terms of value?
I think that's probably about it, to be completely honest. You can maybe take an outside chance on Darren Collison. He's 5,500 on FanDuel. That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, definitely. A guy like Patrick Beverley. More of a DK play, but 4,900. It's been averaging nearly 30 points, fantasy points per game over the last 6. And obviously, I think the one concern here is probably with the blowout with Brooklyn and Houston. But outside of that, I still think he's going to be a guy who sees 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah, and that blowout risk is what I really like about this next shooting guard.
Yeah, definitely. We're looking here, moving on over to shooting guard, James Harden, obviously one of your expensive guys on tonight's slate. And as you put it, there is that blowout potential.
Yes, there is. And the guy I was getting at is I really like Eric Gordon.
Yeah, he's been shooting the ball well off the bench here of late. This is a guy when he's running hot, he's a guy you look to put into your lineups because he's really never too expensive.
No, and Brooklyn's 28th versus shooting guard, and you expect, if it's close, Harden can really put up a big score. But if it's a blowout and maybe Harden doesn't see the fourth, Gordon's going to be that main guy coming off the bench, and he should get 25 minutes in this game. That could be really good value.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So, if you want to take a step down, because, I still want exposure to Houston, but, when you're paying the price tag of Harden and he doesn't really pay off that value, it kind of limits you, and especially on tonight's slate. There's basically, 2 to 3 stars where we're really talking about guys who are priced up, Cousins, and basically Harden at this point.
Yeah, those are the two that are really high priced, and even though the DVP says not to attack this, I still think I'm going to look at Giannis. When you can get a guy like that can really put up a 60, possibly a 70 spot under 10K, it's tempting.
Yeah, it definitely is. He's a guy, I think, after we saw his last game, or, he had the struggles against Atlanta, was in some foul trouble. Obviously bounced back, and this is a guy who's been, nearing a triple-double, on multiple nights so far this season. So, as you put it, not a great matchup one-on-one, but, he's basically this offense. As long as he can stay on the court and out of foul trouble, he'll be fine.
Yeah, the foul trouble's a problem, and the one thing though with Giannis is that's why I really don't take DVP into account when he plays, because he plays the 1 through the 3. So really you can look at any of those 3 matchups, and when he's got the ball in his hands, he can do anything.
Yeah, definitely. So great pivot off of Harden as always, and always kind of a cheaper option. So how do you feel about kind of the opposing guys? DeRozan and Lowry tonight.
I like DeRozan. Just 8,500 on FanDuel is too expensive for a guy, for me at least, for a guy that just scores. He grabs rebounds here and there, but he rarely ever hits 5X, and that's what I really look for with these guys.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you're looking at him, and as you put it, he's really a guy who has to score 30 real points to have it really any shot at going kind of 40 or higher. And even that's pushing it, just because of his peripheral numbers.
Yeah, and I like Lowry. It's Delly's a decent defender, but Lowry can score the ball. I have no problem with Lowry, and I'd much rather have him than DeRozan.
Yeah, I think so too. He's a guy who's been, fairly stellar, and obviously, doesn't need to just only score to put up points. So, but I think overall, I think this is a position that I'm going to be kind of trending downwards at in terms of price. I like guys like Wesley Matthews, who's playing big minutes, as you said, Eric Gordon. I'll even take a shot at Will Barton again, who come off, a couple of disappointing performances.
Yeah, Wesley Matthews, I like him a lot. He's been averaging 35 minutes a game over his last 5, and over those last 5, he hasn't scored less than 25, so he's got a nice floor.
Yeah, it definitely does, and that price tag really hasn't gone up, and I like attacking this Denver backcourt. As far as cheap punt guys, there's none really that I'm going to be intrigued with. I know Monta Ellis is out, and that's probably going to open up some room for Stuckey and C.J. Miles, but I don't know how much that's going to really influence my decision to use them.
I won't use them. I would definitely won't use Stuckey. I'll think about Miles because, small forward, we'll get to that soon. But definitely myself going under 5K for shooting guard tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And then also, we'll talk about the Lakers. They got Nick Young back playing 20 minutes last night. Russell came back. Lou Williams stayed hot, but I think he's at a price tag that, it's tough for me to pay up for.
I think you definitely don't need to go there now that they got all 4 of them back there now, and some of them at the 2 and they put Dang at the 3, so that's really going to cut into Lou's minutes.
Yeah, it does. He only played 26 minutes. Obviously, he still rolled out a solid game last night, but you look at 2 steals. He did have the peripheral numbers. He had 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Those usually aren't numbers that Lou Williams is getting when he's playing only 25 minutes.
Right.
Anyone else you're looking at here at shooting guard?
Yeah, there's one other guy, and it's based on an injury, and I don't think Kemba's going to be out. But if Kemba's out, I got to play Batum.
Yeah, usage skyrockets when Kemba's out. I actually don't mind his price either way, whether Kemba plays. Obviously he's a guy who, a pretty good floor player. You look at his numbers over the last 6 games. 13, 10, and 6 is what he's averaging. So he's been fairly solid, as we've kind of been hinting. This Indy defense hasn't been good.
Yeah, I think that's about it for shooting guard.
Small forward, we're looking here. No Durant, no LeBron James tonight. But Paul George in a decent spot, and obviously because Paul George really hasn't been healthy completely throughout the year, he's still relatively cheap for being Paul George.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what's going on with MKG. He can shut down. When he plays a studs, he just gets obliterated, and I can just see George possibly putting up 40 real points tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that usage that he has, obviously skyrockets. Playing big minutes. This is a guy who's, obviously his defensive numbers have been solid, averaging, nearly 2 steals per game. I think he's a guy who I'm going to just consistently build around tonight because obviously small forwards, not the strongest of options tonight. And Paul George can get you those elite numbers at a cheaper price tag.
Yes, I really like Paul George tonight, and I don't know what to do with Rudy Gay. Every time I play that guy, I always get him wrong. But he's in a pretty good matchup against the Lakers. But you think you take Gay, and then next thing you know, Cousins has 20 and 20, and Gay puts up a 20 spot, and you're screwed.
Yeah, and Gay's always a frustrating player. Definitely a GPP play tonight because obviously, as you stated, yes. I mean there is that risk that he's going to come out and lay out a flat performance, but. Every now and then this is a guy who can go for 40-plus fantasy points. So, in this matchup at this price tag's really on both sides. I mean, I don't mind him.
I like going back to that Houston game. I like Ariza a lot, but if the game does get really out of hand and you want to take a shot in a GPP, I'm thinking maybe you can go after Decker.
Yeah, it's a good call. I mean, we've seen Decker be fantasy viable here over the last few weeks. And as you point out, the blowout, potential here is still going to be something. But this is a guy who's kind of hovering around 20 minutes a game anyway. So, I mean, there's a reasonable shot. I think 20 to 25 is certainly viable. And as you say, if it gets out of hand, we could even push that up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, 25 would be nice because, he's been putting up some pretty good points. If I can get 25 – 26 points in 25 minutes with Decker at that price, that's go a long way in your GPP lineups.
Yeah, definitely. And he's a pretty good swerve off of guys like Miles and like Brandon Ingram, who I feel like people are going to be going after tonight. But Miles is a decent option. I don't know if I'm going to be going after Brandon Ingram. I think with everyone healthy, play 26 minutes. This guy's not particularly a good shooter, gets into foul trouble. I'm kind of leaning off of him now.
Yeah, I won't be on Ingram. I like him better when a lot more guys are out.
Yeah, definitely. And Trevor Ariza, just a couple hundred more, or basically, 1,000 more, 5,400. He's also another guy who I still think is going to be a viable option, to kind of get cheaper exposure to Houston tonight.
And what's getting me lately is that this Miami team, man, they have so many injuries, and you never know who to play. I mean, Whiteside's always consistent, Dragic is, but I always want to take a chance at those guys at the shooting guard and small forward spots, but you just never know with those guys.
Yeah, it's iffy. I mean, Josh Richardson back gives me a little bit more stability. I mean, lately we've seen some Wayne Ellington, but for me, I think I'd rather have Richardson. I mean, at least he was showing something before he was injured and came back and played, 26 minutes last night.
Yeah, Richardson's a lot better.
Yeah.
Winslow can come back. I like playing Winslow, especially.
Yeah, he was a much more consistent option. Now we just basically have been focusing in on, Whiteside and Dragic.
Yeah.
So, Wilson Chandler, he's the guy who's listed questionable for tonight's game. And always Denver's front court is fun to mess around with because you usually never know what you're going to get. But we'll talk about a guy at power forward who I'm digging. I don't think Gallinari's still an option.
Yep.
So moving over to power forward, and obviously the big news, Blake Griffin questionable tonight. Didn't play on Sunday. Saturday. And we're looking at this one. I mean, it would be a good matchup for him. Obviously, he has torched Portland in both games. If he goes, I mean, I'll look at him as one of the better plays of the night.
Yeah, I mean, if he plays, I mean, I'd love to lock him in. I'm just really worried about this game too. I mean, Portland, Damian Lillard gets cold on the road sometimes, and next thing you know, this game's a 20-point game, and Blake already, dealing with the minor injury might give him some time off. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, there's a chance that he does see limited minutes. I mean, if he sits out, I think we can look at there's no real good fill-in. I mean, you can take maybe a punt play like, Maurice Spades, but outside of that, I think it's just, that gives a significant advantage to Chris Paul, to DeAndre Jordan.
Yes, if Blake Griffin's out, I'll play Paul and Jordan in every single lineup because their usage is so greater. And, I mean, Maurice Spates, though, I can see myself playing him. He's 3,900 on FanDuel. He in a blowout potential, he's gonna get minutes. If Blake sits, he's gonna get minutes. I mean, 25, 26 points at a 3,900.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, he comes in off the bench and he's just the offensive guy. I mean, he goes up and rebounds. I mean, he's high usage. So, he's not going to – he's a guy who's going to get you more, one fantasy point per minute. So, given that those minutes are going to be there tonight, if Griffin sits where the blowout potential's there, it bodes well for him.
Definitely.
So, as far as cheap guys go here in power forward, we'll skip down a little bit and come back up. A lot of these guys are kind of tough to trust. I like Jokic, who's been running hot over the last few weeks. I don't mind him at his FanDuel price.
Yeah, I mean, Jokic is a good player. I'm a big Fareed fan, and I can't stand Mike Malone, man. He just doesn't know what to do with that rotation. If Kenneth Fareed played 30 minutes a game, I would play him every single night.
Yeah, you look, or averaging 23 on the season, 19 over the last 5. But I mean, look, 24 minutes last time out, 19 and 10. I mean, this guy, when he's out there for 25, at least 25 minutes, he's going to be solid.
Yeah, and he's putting up points. And look at the game before. If he wasn't out, it was just a coach decided not to play him. I mean, you can't trust him because you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I look at all those guys and just go, all right, they're tournament plays only. I can't take the chance.
Yes, definitely can't play those guys in cash.
So, but a guy I'm looking at here, I mean, Dwight Powell, who's been relatively consistent. I mean, with Bogut and Dirk out, hasn't really shown a ton of tremendous upside, but you're looking at what he's been doing of late. I mean, averaging 11 and 6, playing around 26 minutes per game. Not bad.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Dwight Powell. I'm not a huge fan of targeting bigs against Denver. They get boards and really limit your upside.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. I think obviously they are the number 1 rebounding team in the league. In terms of defensively, they haven't been that stout. It's just been more, if Powell only gets 3 or 4 rebounds, he's not going to be scoring 20 points. It's going to be still 10 to 11.
Right.
So, outside of that, though, I think moving on up, I mean, Jabari Parker, obviously coming off one of his poor games of the season, but he was running hot before that. I'm not particularly scared of this Toronto team anymore. I think last year I tend to fade most parts, but this year's a little bit different.
Yeah, I really like Parker tonight, to be completely honest. I use him a lot. He's never owned, ever. Nobody ever takes Jabari Parker. I mean, 6,200 for a guy that's going to be facing Sikiam and Patterson. I mean, I'd take that matchup any day.
Yeah, and real cheap. I mean, you can use him at small forward on DraftKings as well. It's where he's eligible. So, yeah, he's a solid play. Anyone else you're really looking at here? I mean, we talked about the Charlotte situation. Obviously, a great spot, but no guys that we can really trust.
Yeah, and I mean, I might take a chance on Randall, but I think, I'd rather just go down 200 and just play Jabari.
Yeah, I think so too. And then obviously looking to kind of get, a guy like Griffin in if he plays in a GPP, at least a couple shares of him. What do you think about Trevor Booker tonight?
He's interesting. I mean, I have a thing where with playing power forwards against Houston, I only play a certain type of power forward. I like the more athletic guys, and I'm not saying Booker isn't, but I like the more Fareed, Randall, those kind of guys because it's an up-paced game usually. And I'm just not, I don't really, and Ryan Anderson's going to be playing outside, so that's going to take Booker away from the basket. I don't really like those guys that just sit on the block really against power forwards against Houston. Yeah,
certainly fair. I mean, different type of game, and Booker is not your typical kind of running gun type of power forward and stretch guy anymore. I mean, he is a guy who's just going to be posting up down by the hoop.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking at center here, and no real injuries to concern ourselves with here. But I mean, is tonight a night you're looking to really pay up for Boogie, or are you kind of going elsewhere?
I mean, I don't mind Boogie at all. I think Boogie's a great play. But like I said, if Griffin's out, I mean, just blocking Jordan for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking to do. I think there's a lot of cheap guys you can look with. I really don't mind taking shots with a Brook Lopez, with a DeAndre Jordan. Those guys are solid options. Even a Clint Capella is a pretty cheap, intriguing option as well.
Yeah, Clint Capella is a solid player. I think, though, if I were going to go to Capella, I give myself one last chance with Miles Turner. I mean, he hasn't been doing bad, but I'm really looking for that 40-point game to really
Yeah, definitely. He's always got that big blocking upside as well. So, I mean, he can give you that relatively cheap. I mean, on DraftKings, I mean, I think tonight's looking like a multiple centers night because you're looking at Brook Lopez 6,600, DeAndre Jordan 65, Turner 57, Clint Capella 5,300. I mean, those are all really nice prices for guys I want to get exposure to.
Yeah, I love doing the double center on DraftKings, and it just seems like nobody does it. And if you get two good centers, you can really put yourself ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and if you still want to use Cousins, he's power forward eligible. So I mean, you can still roster two centers and use Cousins.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely going contrarian right there.
Certainly. So looking at that route, I mean, um, if Griffin's out, I think DeAndre Jordan becomes basically the top points per dollar center.
Oh yeah, I mean you can play him cash tournament anywhere. He just seems that he takes so many more boards when Griffin's out, and he does the pick. Usually it's Griffin and Paul doing a lot of the pick and roll, but when Griffin's out, lobs and he's not really missing those dunks.
Definitely not. Whiteside's a guy I'm interested with tonight. I mean, because there's a lot of cheap centers, because there's Cousins. We might see a little bit lower ownership on him.
Yeah, Whiteside's always good. I love targeting Gortat can't play anything. He's horrible on offense, horrible on defense, and Whiteside's got that unreal rebound ability. He can give you a 20-20 game any night. I mean, he's definitely a nice option tonight. A lot cheaper than Cousins, and like you said, with all those cheap centers, I mean, what are we expecting? Maybe 12, 13%?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's, you look at him and, he's nearly a 2 to 3K difference from Cousins in terms of price. And you're looking at, relatively similar upside.
Yeah, and you could really use that extra money somewhere else.
Certainly. So, we've talked about some guys we're not really on. I mean, is there a stud that you're not really looking to play tonight?
I mean, I hate fading Harden, but if there was a night, I really think they're gonna kill him.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I'm looking at that price, and he's a guy I'm looking to not really get as much exposure to as usual. I'd rather take my shot with that mid range guys like Paul George, guys like DeMar DeRozan, and looking at Giannis as well. So for $2,000 to $3,000, $4,000 cheaper, I mean, I think Harden a blowout potential there is probably one to fade tonight.
Definitely, and I think I'm gonna definitely not be on John Wall.
Yeah, he's a guy I'm not really looking at, especially if Griffin's out and Paul right there. I just like all those guys, especially Kemba's price. I mean, Kemba's price is looking pretty damn good.
Yeah, he's in a lot better matchup than Wall and 2K cheaper. I mean, sign me up.
Yeah, definitely. So, any parting words for tonight's slate?
Not really. I just hope everybody does well tonight, and hopefully we both take down a GPP, and hope everybody enjoyed listening.
Yeah, definitely. So good luck, everyone. If you guys want to check out the NBA content, Matt's going to be doing an article with us today. Also, cheat sheets are up on the site. They'll be up later and posted today. So be sure to head on over to dailyfantasycafe.com and check out our great tools and content.